Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar about postgraduate student support here at the University of Derby. Today, we'll be discussing the services we offer that can help you make the most of your time here as a postgraduate student. Today's presenters will be Natalie Ball and Faiza Ali. Natalie is one of our disability advisors from our student life team, and Faiza is a senior officer from our student hub team here at our Kedleston Road campus. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please drop them into the Q&A and we'll run through them at the end. Thank you. I'll now hand over to Natalie.
Hi there. My name is Natalie Ball and I work as a disability advisor as part of Student Services. So Student Services, we are a team of advisors and specialists, and we provide information and guidance on a range of topics. So, for example, we have 4 departments. One of them is the disability team, which I'm a part of. We have counselling and mental health service. We have a finance department. We have a student life team, and we have a support services team. So we are here really to give you information, advice and guidance about the support you can receive, along with general university life queries and things like that. And that hopefully will help support you throughout your university journey with any challenges you may face throughout that journey. So with this slide, we just want to recognise that there can be specific challenges for postgraduate students, and it might be a unique set of challenges that you don't necessarily face on your undergraduate programme. And they can be things such as isolation, lack of belonging. So that may be because you're an online student and more self-directed study. You might not be accessing campus very regularly, or you might be studying remotely. Postgraduate students can tend to be balancing a lot, so studies alongside work, childcare, other responsibilities. Postgraduate students can have other financial pressures, mortgages, bills, etc., things like that. Difficulty accessing support services and resources on campus. So if you're not on campus that regularly, but you're trying to access support, that side of it can be difficult. So we just wanted to take the time to recognise that that might be some of the challenges that you're facing whilst you're on your studies here. So as part of that, it's important to note that all of our support services are available remotely. So if you're having an appointment with a disability advisor, you can have an appointment face-to-face over Teams or over the phone. The same with our counselling and mental health service, financing team, and our student life advisors. Various workshops and things that we run are also available online, and we are working at making those recordings more available so you can access them on a time that's suitable for you. You maybe have a long work day and you might not be able to access them till late at night. We're working at providing that for you as well. It's important to note as well about accessing support early. So we'd always encourage students to come to us and speak about any of the challenges, queries, concerns they've got before, say, a deadline approaches or before things become too unmanageable. So there's no problem too small, just reach out to us for support. And I'll go into a bit more detail along the slides about the different support that our services offer throughout our teams. So support for university life. Next slide, please. So we do have a dedicated team of advisors who are called student life advisors. So they're there to help you really to get the most out of your time at university. University is about learning new skills, techniques to try and support you throughout that journey, and then on to whatever it is that you then go on to do after university. So they have developed a series of workshops that can help you with all aspects of university life that's not necessarily related to your programme. but they can do things like social connection, exam and presentation anxiety, healthy sleep habits, managing stress, mood, move and motivate, and wellness MOTs. So, recognizing that sometimes it can be quite stressful, juggling a lot of things. What are the areas that we can help you on? Do you need some help with getting a good night's sleep? Are you having some stress and anxiety around doing a presentation or something like that, for example? Are you struggling with those social connections? How can we advise you on how to build those relationships and things like that? So they're on our website and you can book onto those. And like I say, there are various formats that you can engage with those workshops as well. Student Life, they don't only do the workshops, though. They are advisors that are available for you to pick up the phone and call and ask any queries. If you've got a concern about anything, they might be able to give you external resources or let you know the right team who you need to contact, but they are there to offer support, advice and guidance. And they are our point of contact. So if you're wanting to speak to somebody over the phone, it might be about a disability, or it might be about budgeting, it might be about, counselling and mental health, and they can book you in with the right team who you need to get in touch with. We do have a student money advice team. So they are specialist advisors and they specialise in providing information, advice and guidance around the money side of your studies. So they can give you information about budgeting, they can give you information about student funding, and they can support you with like any general queries or issues that you've got with funding. So postgraduate students are funded through postgraduate student funds. They can give you advice about how you access that, what you'd be eligible for, how they provide you with that money, or if you've got any queries around when that money is coming through, or what does that mean, or you're on maybe a different program where you might be getting a bursary or something like that. They can help you figure all of that out, but they can also give you advice around money, around budgeting and things like that. And they also offer appointments and workshops within that. Counselling and mental health team. So if you could just click again, I think it will bring more information up. Yeah. So at Derby University, we have a counselling and mental health team. So they are qualified counsellors and psychotherapists, and they can work with you around all aspects of your emotional and mental health. So what they focus on is working with you as an individual and giving you tools, techniques, coping strategies that you can then take on and put into practice within your university life or within your personal life. So usually it's about an 8-week bespoke program that, they will personalize, and at the end of it, they may offer, self-help guides, or signpost you to external agencies, things like that. They are also going to be offering workshops and peer-to-peer support groups as well as part of that. So if you're wanting any support at all around your emotional and mental health, then you can contact our counselling and mental health team. Again, we'd always encourage you to access that service before something perhaps gets overwhelming or unmanageable or to a crisis point, because they can really help that journey for you in structuring and giving you advice and techniques about how to manage situations better. So student services, we work really closely with some external support. We have a app that's called Talk Campus, and that is free anonymous support 24/7. So if you download the Talk Campus app, you can get peer-to-peer support. So that's other students. You can anonymously talk to other students about their experiences, what they found helpful, and you can get 24/7 support from, mental health practitioners as well. We also have a Safe Zone app. So that's our Safe Zone University app. We'd recommend that you download that. On campus, it's really handy for if you want to get in touch with a first aider or security. You can log yourself into places if you're wanting people to know where you are, things like that. So it's just a really good way to keep in touch with our security or first aid and things like that. They can let you know about emergency things that might be happening, or if a lift's not working, for example, something like that. Some of the other external agencies we work with are Grow Change Live, 1625 Outreach. So we have a wide range of external resources that we can refer you on to as well. Disability support. So that's the team that I am part of. So I'm a disability advisor, and we have a team of disability advisors. And what we do is work with students who may have a specific learning difference, long-term health condition, mental health condition. We work with students to try and remove any of those challenges that they have to learning. So we offer individualized support. So what we'd probably do, if you made us aware that you'd got a condition, then we would get you an appointment with a disability advisor like myself, and then I would give you information, advice and guidance on what sort of support you can access for the duration of your course. Support is really individualized, and we would perhaps put maybe adjustments in place for your specific requirements, and we might put in a support plan or something like that would help you really communicate your needs clearly to your academic teams, raise awareness. We work with academic teams really closely to ensure that your needs are being met, adjustments are being implemented. Alongside this, inclusivity at Derby University is built within the design of the programme. So there are lots of inclusive teaching practices that we expect to be happening as standard as well, as then working with the programme teams and, putting in adjustments based on specific requirements. We do offer dyslexia testing at Derby University. So if you ever feel like you have had dyslexia, or you think you might have dyslexia, then we do offer a screening, and we do offer a full diagnosis testing for that. If that's something that would be something you want to look into, then you can get in touch with us. We can talk you through that process as well. If you've been tested in the past, but you haven't maybe got a full diagnostic report, or if you've lost your report, then again, you can access this process, and we will talk you through how you can begin that journey of getting tested for dyslexia. So then we come to the disabled students allowance. So if you're coming for an appointment with a disability advisor like myself, what I would do is advise you of the things I've just discussed that we could put in place at the university. But the main form of support that you would receive at university is the funded support that is funded through the Disabled Students Allowance. So we would always really encourage any student to make an application. So any student that's got a specific learning difference, long-term health condition or health condition, to make an application. So it's based on your individual needs. It's not household income assessed, and you don't have to pay it back. What it does is fund support for you whilst you're at university. And I think the next slide will go into what sorts of support you might be eligible for. Yeah. So it really depends on your condition and on your individual needs. But just to give you a little bit of an idea, then it can fund you for things like specialist equipment. So that might be ergonomic equipment. And if you've got physical mobility issues, they may look at getting your home computer set up, had a look at, and recommend any ergonomic equipment, like a keyboard, laptop, chair, desk, things like that. Assistive technology. So there's loads of really, really good assistive technology out there now. So there's things like read and write software where you speak into a microphone and it dictate what you said and it will read it back to you. There's transcribing software out there that will, I think you use it on your phone now, so you'd put your phone, say, in a lecture or something like that, and it transcribes down the notes, and that just takes the pressure off you having to take notes as well as listen. There's some mind mapping software. There's loads and loads of really good software out there, and the DSA assessor will go through that with you, and they will make recommendations based on your individual condition. They might usually recommend a laptop depending on what your current laptop situation is and if it's compatible with any of the software that they recommend. The next type of support, and this is a type of support that our students really, really benefit of. We get really good feedback about the tutor support. So that is things like maybe a specialist study skills tutor or a specialist mentor. So a study skills tutor, they would help you with all aspects of your academic studies. So academic writing, referencing, time management, organisation, all sorts of things like that. Specialist mentors, roles may overlap sometimes, but they can help you with sort of the emotional challenges that you may face. If you're getting particularly stressed or overwhelmed, they can give you coping techniques, strategies. They can really help with motivation, focus, time management, organisation, those sides of skills. And it's really to help build up your skills and develop those skills while you're at university, so that then you can take them into the outside world, your world of work, and put them into practice, and you're building those skills as well. But they can help with other things. So if you get recommended assistive technology, then you'll be trained on that technology. There's conditions you might need, specialist note takers, you might need a sighted guide, BSL interpreters, things like that. So that's the kind of support that would be funded through the Disabled Students Allowance. As well as that, they might fund some study costs, so things like printing ink cartridges, paper, photocopying, and then as well travel allowance. So they may fund you for taxi fares, mileage costs, things like that, if that's what they recommend for you. So, like I've said before, that is one of the main forms of support. We would really, really recommend that you do engage with that support, because the feedback that we have off students, it is a true form of support, and it's, like I say, developing and building those skills that you can take with you. And here's just some of the quotes that we've had back off our students who've engaged with that type of support before. Safeguarding. So we do have a designated safeguarding officer. If you ever have a concern, whether that be about yourself or somebody else, then you can always fill out our cause for concern reporting form, and that will be picked up by a designated safeguarding officer. As well, we do have a dedicated sexual violence, harassment, misconduct support officer. And they are there to give some confidential, one-to-one, non-judgmental support for anybody that's been affected by sexual violence, harassment, or misconduct. So you can reach out to them for that kind of advice at any time. So, getting yourself ready for university. So the things that we would say that are really important if you come into university and you're looking at what you can be doing to get yourself ready. So apply for student finance. If you've got a disability, so specific learning difference, mental health condition, or long-term health condition, like I say, please do apply for the Disabled Students Allowance, and anybody within the student services can give you information about how to apply and help you with that process if you get stuck along that journey. Contact the disability team. If you've got a diagnosed condition, contact us at any point, whether that's pre-entry or when you're on course, and we can look into that, individualised support. Check out the budgeting tips and tools, like I say, that our money advice team work on. Plan some self-care opportunities. So have a look into those workshops. Do you think you might benefit from those? We also have our library team also do some really, really good work with our Develop at Derby web pages, and you can access them for building your skills. You can access that pre-entry or as a current student, but really developing those academic type skills as well. Check out our web pages to find out about all our support. So all information about the support that we offer is all available on our web pages if you want to have a look. And follow at hashtag Derby Uni on social media as well for information about any events and things like that we've got going on. So it's really important. Don't wait until you're in that sort of crisis situation, or there's a deadline coming up, or you're getting overwhelmed. We really, really find it's beneficial to students to get engaged with our service before that point, so that we can help put those that support in place before it gets to that point. So now I will pass over to Faizan, who'll talk you through the Student Hub. So thank you very much for listening. Any questions I can answer at the end as well.
Thank you, Natalie. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. In case you missed the introduction at the beginning, my name is Faiz Ali and I'm the Senior Student Hub Officer here at the University of Derby. So I'm going to be talking to you today about the Student Hub and the support that we offer via the Student Hub. So what is the Student Hub? So the Student Hub was launched in January 2024, and the idea was that it was to bring all the front-facing teams together in one place. Prior to this, you may have had to go from one office to another office, and not only was this not a good service for our students, but we found that there was a lot of queries that were actually inefficient to be resolved in this way. So it was actually designed to be the first port of call for any student journey query, regardless of what that may be. So we're there for you to basically visit us if you've got any need for advice, information, guidance, etc. And now we're based in central locations that are easy to find, easy to access. You don't need to go from one tower to another tower, or from one campus to another campus. You know, the support's there in one central location where you need it. So here's a little bit of a visual that we put together. And initially this was internal to staff, but I wanted to share this with you because I think it does a really good job of exemplifying how we work now. Because as I said, it is different to how we used to work prior to January 2024. What you can see there is, again, you know, our mission statement, which is, you know, we're here to support students together from application all the way through to graduation. And on the spire of that arrow, you can see a few of our teams that are based in the Student Hub. So we've got admissions, finance, college registry operation teams, all the way through to our student records and awards team. And each of these teams support crucial elements of the student journey. And when we say we're here to support students together, it isn't to say that you walk into the Student Hub and you have to speak to a member of admissions, or that you have to find a designated person from the international compliance team, for example. That's not the case. The idea was that we all share information so that every single advisor that you walk in and speak to can answer the basic queries. And then where we need to escalate, we can then get you sat with someone from that team as required. I'm going to speak a little bit further now about what each team can help and support with. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So again, this is an exhausted list. These are all of the physical teams that we have in the Student Hub. And I've tried my best to keep this as streamlined as possible. Because if I was to go into all of the queries that we can support with, you know, we would be here for hours and hours. But these are our most popular queries based on each team. So for admissions, you know, they can support with applicant queries. So if you've made an application and if you were to visit the Student Hub, you know, they could support you with whatever applicant query that you may have. That also includes the TFAF process. So TFAF stands for Tuition Fee Assessment, and actually the F stands for Form. So I think there's a question in the Q&A, which we'll get to afterwards, which is about fee statuses. But if you think there's an issue with your fee status, that's something that the admissions team can support with, although you would have to go through that tuition fee assessment. And entry calls as well. There might be reason for you not being able to provide the specific entry qualifications that we've asked for. You can come in and query this with us, or if you're unable to scan those documents for whatever reason, but you have got them physically, again, you can bring them into us physically, and then we can then scan them on our premises. Okay. The finance team, also known as the sales ledger team, they're there to support any fee-related queries that you may have. So anything to do with accommodation and or tuition fees. If you're struggling to make a payment, maybe you're struggling from the technical side of it, or maybe you're actually struggling to keep up with your payments, and perhaps they can discuss payment plans with you. So these are different options that the finance team are able to discuss with you. College registry operations team. Now, this is more likely to be the team that you converse with for the majority of your studies if you were to have any issues, because this team works very closely with the academics. And if you think about it this way, the academics look after the course-related side of the course, and the college registry operations team look after everything to do with your profile and the admin side. So if you need to discuss perhaps changing your studies, so changing a module, for example, or perhaps even changing your program, changing your contact details. If you think your contact details need to be updated and you're struggling to do that yourself through our self-service functions, you can come in and speak to our advisors and we can get those corrected for you. If you've got any queries about your grade and about extensions, we can support you with that, especially the extension process. We can give you plenty of guidance and explain how that process works and advise you accordingly. And as I said, program related queries. So again, just to specify, that's not the actual course or assignment side of things. You would have to speak to academic about that, but we can speak to you about things like PSRB requirements, or if a program has certain regulations attached to it. So please feel free to visit us and speak to us about that should you have any questions. The timetable team. The timetable team tend to be based with us in the first sort of 3 to 4 weeks of a semester, because we found that this is where we tend to get the most timetable related queries, as they tend to come from our new students. So if you've got any queries with your room, for example, let's say you're on a module and your friend's studying that same module, but you've got a morning session and your friend's got an afternoon session, and actually it'd be more convenient for you to be in the same session. This is something for you to discuss with the timetable team to see if that's possible for you to potentially be put in the same session as one of your friends or one of your colleagues. Timetable access queries. If you're struggling to see your timetable for whatever reason, we can look at that in the hub. It might be that it's a software issue, or potentially it could be a hardware issue, and you won't know for certain unless you come and visit us. And any other timetable issues that you may come across, you're more than welcome to come in and discuss those in the hub. So student services, I won't go into this in too much detail because Natalie's done a fantastic job explaining that, but the student services team are based within the hub and we work very closely with them. And as you know, having watched Natalie's portion of this webinar, that is not an exhaustive list by any means. But the first port of call is that if you are on campus and you need to have that support, chances are that your query will actually be a little bit layered. A lot of students who visit us don't just visit us for student services related issues. So what tends to happen is they'll visit us in the hub, we'll get them to speak to student services, and then afterwards they may wish to speak to the college registry operations team, for example, to discuss a change to their profile. So this is how we work really closely with the student services team, and they're very much a part of the student hub. International student compliance. So this really affects the students who are on a student visa. And this is the team that goes through the CAS process. So when we get visits from people who are at the applicant stage wanting to have updates about the CAS process, they can discuss that. We can give immigration advice specifically related to student visa, but also graduate route and skilled worker route as well. So we can give advice on that. And of course, we can speak to you about your working hours if you've got any student visa limitations in regards to working hours. So I guess in essence, you should think of this team as, if you're coming with a student visa, this is a team that gets you in the country, but it's also the team that will help you keep you in the country and keep you compliant with your visa as well, okay? The placements team. So this is a team that we work very closely with. They do have their own office, but they tend to be with us when we require them to be there. and that normally tends to be the first half of each semester, plus their drop-in sessions as well. So you may have, some of you may have already gone to some of their drop-in sessions for the DBS checks. If your program requires you to work with children or with vulnerable adults, or if you've got a placement, as part of your program that requires you to work with children or vulnerable adults, you will need a DBS check, and that's normally done through our system, which is called Verifile. And it's the placement teams that conducts that check. So you'll need to come in and see us and bring in your documents in person. As I said, you will have been contacted about that if you fit into that category. And just general placement queries as well. If you've got any queries about placement, you can speak to the team in the hub. And if it's something that they can support you with, they will support you with that, okay? Sometimes it's something that you'll have to speak to your academic link tutor about, but more often than not, it's something that they'll be able to resolve with you directly. And finally, last but certainly not least, student records and awards. So this team is really important. They look after your profile from the start of your studies all the way to your graduation and beyond. So they start off with supporting with the enrollment. So when you come and start with us, you'll go through the enrollment process, which is what they own. And that takes place in the student hub and the surrounding area as well, all the way through to graduation. And it's the awards side of the student records and awards team that processes your awards, prints your certificate. And should you have any issues with anything graduation related, you can discuss that with the team in the student hub. During your studies, there's also a potential where you might need to discuss student finance queries, or you might want to speak to them about your overall record or perhaps your transcript after you've received it following graduation. Again, these are all things that they can discuss with you in the student hub. Before I move on to the next slide, I just want to say that what I'm describing here are the physical services that we offer, but these services, they're also available, with the exception of DBS check and perhaps entry calls, all available virtually as well. When we move on to the next slide, so let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. So the reason I've specified on this page that these are the generic services is because that each of the teams I've mentioned on the previous page, they have their own email address, and we've got switchboards that can take you directly to them, and they've got direct phone lines as well. Whereas the services I'm showing on this page, they're owned by the Student Hub. So to get these services done, you would have to visit us in person, okay? Or you'd have to email us and we can look into that. So these are generic services. So as I mentioned, enrollment takes place in the Student Hub and the surrounding areas. During the course of your study, if you need a ID card printing, you would come into the Student Hub. So we're normally one of the first teams you engage with and interact with because of that. And that also counts for replacement cards as well. Should you require a replacement card, you would need to come into the Student Hub, okay? Form stamping and signing. So for example, if you have got a rail card form and you need it to be stamped and signed, you need to come into the Student Hub where we can review your form against the information we have you on the system, and then we can stamp that and sign that for you. And travel letter requests. This really only applies for students on a student visa. But if you need a travel letter request, you would come into the Student Hub to request that. Generally speaking, we deal with majority of letter requests also. So if you do need support with some of the self-service letters that perhaps you're looking at one of the letters you've generated yourself through your own system, and you think perhaps something on there is incorrect, you could visit the Student Hub and we can correct that for you as well, okay? So where to find us? We've actually got presence in pretty much all of our campuses. So we've got our main site at Keldeston Road, and we've got our other offices at Friargate Square, Markeaton Street, and that's in Derby, and also in the St Helena campus in Chesterfield. We're open from Monday to Thursday, 8:30 to 5 o'clock. And then on a Friday from, 8:30 to 4:30 on a Friday. So, that's our opening hours, and our email address is there at the bottom. If you're unsure about what team to contact, let's say you're working from home, for example, and you want to send an email to a particular team, I would advise you to email the Student Hub email address that you've got there, because even if it's not something we can't deal with directly, we can get it to one of the teams that works with us, okay? And there you've got our switchboard number as well. Again, if you're unsure about what team to contact, you could call the number that appears on the screen and you could choose the appropriate option. Next slide, please. And here we've got the contact information for the student services team. So as I mentioned, you can visit the student services team via the Student Hub at Kedleston Road. And you can also visit the Student Hub Express sites, and they can escalate it to student services as required. And on screen, you can see the email address, the phone number, and a QR code for further information as well. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to hand back to Tom now so we can get started with the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Faiza, and thank you, Natalie, for your excellent presentations this afternoon. I learned a lot from them. We'll now move on to the Q&A and all the questions that have been posted in the chat. If anyone does have any more questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we'll try and get through them all. If we don't have time, we can signpost you to the correct place. So the first question we've got is, hello, I would like to know if who you consider as an international student. I was sent an email saying that I may be considered as an international student and therefore have to pay extra tuition fees. I have asked what is the criteria to the admissions team, but they haven't got back to me yet. Faiza, do you think you could maybe help with this one?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'll be honest with you. I think it's really quite a difficult one to answer without seeing your application and seeing your personal details. I would expect you to post that in this chat, so please don't do that. But it would be dependent on the type of leave that you have and what your actual visa status is. If you think you've been assessed incorrectly by the admissions team, you would have to go through that TFAF process that I spoke about. So if you've already reached out to admissions team, depending on how long it's been, please do bear with them. I know they're busy and they are very proactively responding to the correspondence as fast as they can. But if you've yet to specifically ask them to be reassessed, that's what I would advise you to do. You would need to go through that TFAF process. If you think something's happened on your application incorrectly, for example, I've had students before who have put the wrong residency on there just by clicking the wrong country, that can happen as well. So regardless of what's happened, please do reach out to the admissions team, which is Ask Admissions. Or if you've already contacted them, I'd advise that you try to contact them again. They're answering phones and responding to emails at the moment. If you feel like it's something that you're not getting a response with and you'd like it to be escalated further, please do feel free to email studenthub@derby.ac.uk. If you do that, please provide your application ID, and what I'll do is I'll escalate it to the team myself.
Thank you, Faiza. That was excellent. I think the next question is for you, Natalie. So, is it possible to access ongoing support for the duration of my 2-year course? I ask because I've had a lot of workplace coaching on organisational skills, but seem to be unable to learn these skills. I therefore think I'm more likely to succeed with ongoing assistance.
Yeah, so I'd probably like a little bit more information, to give a really specific answer. But, is the ongoing support, is that due to a kind of specific learning difference or something like that? And if so, then I would say, yes, if you applied for the Disabled Students Allowance, then you would get access to what's called a specialist study skills tutor, and they would work with you on developing your organisational time management skills, things like that. Depending on what your diagnosis was, if you had one, then you might get a specialist mentor as well. If not, then I would perhaps ask, is your course funded through your workplace? And if so, could you still access those kind of coaching and organisational skills sessions? Because that would be a really good thing to still engage with your workplace. If not, then I'd probably advise you to seek and engage with Develop at Derby. So that's the library support that I touched on briefly. So they have some really, really good workshops, webinars, resources around all different types of academic skills. And they're really, really useful for things like organizational skills, managing time, academic writing, referencing, critical thinking, all sorts of those academic areas. So I'd really recommend engaging with that. But if you have been getting ongoing support because you've got a disability, then please do get in touch with the disability team. We can look into getting a support plan and talking you through the disabled students allowance process as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Natalie. So next question, someone has asked who they can contact to find the exact start date and end date of their academic year and the actual tuition fee costs. They're a disabled student on universal credit and have to tell the DWP this information before they start.
So I can take the second part of that question. So who do you contact to find the exact start date and end date? I think might possibly be the admissions team. Faiza, I don't know if you know more about who would be able to give those specific dates.
It's quite difficult to answer without knowing the program and the modules the student's going to enroll on. I actually think that it's more one for the student records and awards team, to be honest with you. What I'll do is I'll put a link in that question to our key dates. But what I would say is I wouldn't take those directly as gospel, because as I said, it can vary depending on what modules and what program you're studying. If you know very specifically what program you're studying, then perhaps you can use the key dates there. If you don't, what I recommend is if you contact the student records and awards team, and I'll drop the email address in response to your question, perhaps they'll be able to give you more of an answer. What I will say is, depending on when you need it, when you have enrolled with us, you'll be able to generate a letter which will have your specific course dates, your term dates and holiday dates on there. But of course, if you need it before then I would recommend that you reach out to Student Records and Awards. So I've just dropped the email address in there as well. Just click in posts. So please do email Student Records and Awards at derby.ac.uk if you need that before enrolment.
Thanks, Faiza. Yeah, and so the second half of the question, I'm a disabled student on universal credit and have to tell the DWP this information before I start. So if you are a disabled student, I would really recommend that you do get in touch with the disability team so we can look at possibly setting you up a support plan and going through that disabled students allowance so we can ensure that you're getting the funded support that you're eligible for. I would also recommend talking to our student money advice team because they can help advise you on, if you still would be eligible for universal credit if you were to come on the postgraduate programme, and they can have those conversations, try to advise you on that as well. So yeah, please do get in touch with the disability team and with the student money team, and the QR code was on one of the slides, but I can put the information as well in the comments section so you can get the email addresses for those.
So the next question in the Q&A was, how do I apply for DSA? To which someone has actually posted a link to the government webpage, so anyone interested in that can go direct to that landing page. The next question we have, I think this will be one for you, Faiza. So can we access the Student Hub remotely, or is it a person support only service?
Thanks, Tom. So yeah, Student Hub, those teams that I showed you on screen, they all have the ability to be contacted via email and by the phone as well. And quite a lot of those teams also offer virtual appointments. So yeah, it's not just in-person support that we offer, it's also virtual support via emails, via calls, and via virtual appointments as well.
Well, thank you, Faiza. And I think the next question is actually one for you as well. Sorry, I should have combined them. So is the Student Hub open throughout the year, or do the opening hours change during non-term time dates?
That's a great question. So the opening hours don't change throughout the year, believe it or not. We're actually open throughout the year with the exception of when the university is closed. or when the university is operating on holiday hours, sorry, I should say. So I'll give you an example. During the winter break, we'd be closed. During the Easter break, we'd be closed. During any bank holidays, we would be closed. So, we would be open throughout the year. And the only exception would be when generally the university is closed and it's a public holiday.
Excellent. Thank you, Faiza. Next question is from someone who has said they had an interview for a MSc course to start this September. They were told that they would hear if they had been successful and able to start this September, or offered a place on a waiting list almost 2 weeks ago, but still yet to hear anything. I understand admissions are very busy at the moment, but it is getting very late in the year. Is there a backlog, and I would need to apply for student finance and fear I am running out of time?
I'll take it, but what I will say is, firstly, sorry to hear you've had that experience. I can only apologize, and I understand that this has caused you to be stressed, given how it's sort of dragged on a bit. I can't speak too much about the size of the backlog, but what I can tell you is the team is working really proactively to get through said backlog as quickly as possible. We really do try our best to expedite these processes as much as we can. And it could be that they're just waiting for certain things to happen before they get back to you. Sometimes the process just takes the time that it takes. But what I will say is, depending on how often you've reached out to them, it might be something that we're able to escalate. If you haven't reached out to the team via the phone, I would recommend that you give them a call, because they are responding to calls at the moment. And it's probably the best way to speak to someone in real time if you're not based in the city. If you're based in the city, then what I'd say is you could come in and see us, and it's something that we can escalate ourselves. But given the current situation and how busy the admissions team is, I'd say certainly for this week at least, I would recommend you to email and call them so that you could get a response this week.
Amazing. Thank you, Faiza. So next question is, as my postgrad course is full-time, would I be eligible for a student rail card if I am a mature student?
Yes. The short answer is yes. If you're full-time studying, you can get the rail card. What you'll need to do is you'll visit the rail station and get the form. You'll fill out your section. And even though you're a mature student, you would tick the box that says 16 to 25. You bring that filled out form to us, because there's a section that you fill out and then there's a section that we need to fill out as your higher education provider. We can then sign and stamp that, as I mentioned in the presentation. So yeah, if you are full-time, you can get that rail card, okay?
Brilliant. Thank you again, Faiza. So this is a question specific to a course and a subject, but it might be good to touch on sort of generally. So they've asked, when will start dates for therapeutic arts course be released? It might just be worth touching on sort of when timetables can be released and start dates for all courses.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a good question. It's a fair question as well. It's normally pretty close to induction period. So enrollment will start to open in August, and when you come to your induction, by that point you should be getting close to doing your enrollment. So there's two sides of enrollment. There's online enrollment, and then there's the physical confirmation of enrollment. Once you've had your enrollment confirmed, it's normally within 48 hours of being confirmed. So what I would say is follow the steps as you will do once we email you. And what you'll see is once you've had your enrollment confirmed, you'll get that timetable coming out to you via the system. So that's how you'll get it released to you. And that's how it normally works.
Thank you very much. Someone has also commented at the top just to say they contacted their program leader directly regarding their start date, and they did get back to them. So it might be worth just doing that if you're concerned as well. Yeah. And our final question for today, I believe. So they've said, I am applying for DSA and I don't know what type of placement I will be on. They are studying counselling.
So I would probably recommend that you get in touch with the counselling team. So if you go on our website and go to the course search and type in counselling, then it will show you who the program leader and the counselling team are for that course. They should be able to tell you what type of placements you will be on. I don't think the DSA application will need to know this information. So they'll need to know information about your course. But I don't think they'll ask specific dates of placements and things like that. I don't think you'll need that information. But if you want to email the disability team or call the student life team with any, if you're finding it challenging through any of that process, then we can help advise you a bit better over the phone. But yeah, if you want to find your placements, contact the counselling team. But like I say, I don't think you'll need to put in any placement information into the DSA application form.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Natalie. So I think that covers everything for today. Just wanted to say thank you to all of you for joining us. We hope you got your questions answered and the support services webinar was of use to you. Thank you once again to Faiza and Natalie for your excellent presentations. If you would like to discover more about postgraduate study, there is an opportunity to come along before you do start your course. So we have an open event here at our Kedleston Road campus on Wednesday the 10th of September from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. So that would be a great opportunity. We'll have our student support services teams there to answer any questions. Just wanted to wish you a great evening and say thank you once again.